that's where I wanted it, but I didn't cut far enough. I should have kept going on here, I guess. Not I guess, I know. I should have kept going, but I stopped cutting quicker, so it held on over on this side and pulled the tree this way. Alright, so that's one done and cleaned up. Now we're going on to this one right there. That one appears to be leaning. So that's straight up. So it's leaning that way, and it's leaning that way. So my goal is to get it to fall this way, top of that pile. Because I don't want to damage a bunch of trees over there. Actually, maybe straight across there into that opening right there. Yeah, so it's still on top of the pile here, but there we go. That's number 2. And I guess there's some cleanup to do on that one. Clean up on aisle 1. Okay, so I didn't count the logs I got out of the first one, but we can do a quick count, I guess. 1 up on the top, 2, 3 that'll do 6x6s for sure. One of these 2, I think, was one of them off of that tree as well. Not sure if it'll do a 6x6. So we got at least 3 6x6s off of that tree, plus some others for, you know, 3x6s and whatnot. And then this tree, we got 1, 2, and possibly 3. So that's 8. So not quite, but like I said, 9 is what I work with, but I'll have to check. 8 might be pretty close, that if you're just doing a post, it'll just have some kerf on the corner, so all the corners won't be perfectly squared. Otherwise, but that's not too bad. So that's, so far today, 6 or 7 6x6s, plus what I had there already. 10, another 5, 6, you know, so we've probably got about half a dozen. We're probably close to halfway there for the 6x6s. And then I've got one here that's a 16-footer that may be big enough for one of the beams. And I would need 4 more of those. So, getting there. Back to work. So I'll clean this mess up, and then I'll do that one next. And I should have enough fuel to get this cleaned up and that one cleaned up before I have to go for fuel. So we'll see if I'm able to get to those 2 today, because I'm not going to get fuel and then coming back. It's just not worth the time. There's other stuff that I could be doing back at my place at the shop and with the sawmill, getting it figured out so that I can bring it up here to turn all of these into lumber. And I'm not really showing the cleanup today. Not recording any of that. I'm just getting it done because, well, there's been enough of it in the videos from the first 3 days that I was here. 4 days. I'm not sure how many days it's been at this point. So if you want to see that in action, then just check out some of the other videos that I've done on previous days that show how I use the tractor to clean up the branches and put them into the piles, and move the logs and stack them onto these piles. Alright? I guess actually I'll show you this one aspect of me moving the logs. I don't have pallet forks for my tractor, and I don't feel like spending the money to buy them. To move stuff around, I usually sort of jerry-rig something up and make something up. I made some pallets to move a chicken coop with some 2x6s. Just mounted in the bucket, and I still use that. It was a real quick and dirty way of getting the job done, but it functions, and it's on and off pretty simple. And they're like 10-foot long forks. And in this case, what I do is I just use ratchet straps and hook them on. By hooking them on here versus on the bucket, the end of the bucket, I've got more lifting capacity. There's about 900 pounds from this thing, I think, this tractor, roughly 900 pounds. Less than 1,000 anyways, less than half a ton. And so if I was trying to lift even this log from out here, it might not get it. Because out here it's definitely not 900 pounds, it's probably closer to 500, 600 pounds, I don't know, I haven't checked into that. Anyways, talked an awful lot about something that was pretty straightforward. Yeah, and so ratchet straps are adjustable to the size of the log, and I have lifted some pretty large logs. Again, I've got some shorts and some other videos that I've shown this in, but I just thought I'd touch on it here. Okay. All right, one more time, back to work. Said I wasn't going to show the cleanup, but I think I will, because I think this might be the last tree I do because of the fuel situation for the tractor. So I'll just set this up over here on this dirt pile and we'll see what we can get. Before I go and clean all this up, I'll talk about what I got out of that tree. So that was a tree, pretty decent sized tree if you remember. So this is a 16-foot, almost 17-foot, for beam purposes, 6x8 minimum beam that we're going to be using. And it is 12 inches at the small end. Then we got a second one that is 10 feet long, so it's going to be just a beam. and it is 11 inches. So get a beam and then some of it, or a post and then some of it. Unfortunately, I couldn't get a full 16 foot because I've only got another like 3 into here is like 4 inches, 4 feet. So that would have been 14 feet. So I opted for the 10 footer. So I don't really have use for anything longer than 10 feet since my mill only does 10-foot logs. But this one here, I like these types of logs where you've got the codominant stems, because you know, you've got a base for a table or a bench right there. You get the legs already built in. And this one here, what I'm thinking is, if I put that on the sawmill and cut it in half lengthwise, and then I've got 2 pieces, 2 sets of legs, I could then do that whole, cut this on the 45, you know, so that you've got the, I don't know if they got waterfall table. So you'd have 2 waterfall tables that would meet in the middle. So you'd have a nice long, well, an 8-foot-ish, about an 8-foot long table that has infinity stems on both ends. Not infinity, but waterfall stems on both ends, if that makes any sense. I don't know, just I see it in my head. Whether or not it would actually work to do it, I don't know. And then there's these last 2 pieces. Don't know how long they are, but I leave them longer because for pieces that are too small for me to mill into, and also when you get up here, sorry, too small for me to mill into any sort of boards, even 2x, like 2x4s. You know, I get 1 2x4 out of each of those maybe. They're still good as poles, so you can do pole structures with them. So for that, I never know what length I'm going to need, and so I leave them longer for that purpose. Also, when you see all these knots that are that large by comparison to the log itself, well, it's not really going to make very good lumber either. Anyways, so put you back on the pile, and I'll get back to the cleanup.